there are some really big goals that we're going to talk about in this video, and I'm a little nervous to put this much I want to do this out into the world, but we're going for it. Hello, my name is Zoe and I am a 26-year-old photographer based in Washington, D.C. And I make videos here on YouTube every Sunday about how you can start and grow your photography business. I started my photography business not that long ago in January of 2020, just before the start of the worldwide coronavirus pandemic. And as a result, I have been faced with some very interesting circumstances as I try and grow my business. And I am going to be using that information that I have gained while succeeding in growing my business through this time to help you on your journey with your photography business. So one of the things that I have yet to take a step back and do over the last 4 months of being in business is to do a quarterly review of my business and of my performance as an employee in said business. So today I have gone through my review of myself, and we're going to be going over the results of my review today, talking about my goals for the next quarter, the next year, the next month, and then how I'm going to reward myself, etc. And a little bit about where I'm going to be taking my photography business in the near future and just in the future in general. So for those of you who haven't met me before, I'm in a very unique situation where I have only ever worked in a traditional office setting twice in my life, and both of those occurrences were for less than 4 months each. So I had an internship in college where I worked at a small business development center, and that was a very non-traditional office job because I was out in the field a lot. I was educating small businesses on how to use marketing and social media to grow their business. And so while I technically put on a suit and had a desk and went to an office, that was realistically a pretty small percentage of that job. So I don't really count it as a true office job. And then last year for 4 months, I worked in residential leasing for a major property management company in the Mid-Atlantic region. And basically came to the conclusion that having worked as either an independent contractor or self-employed for the entirety of my adult life up until that point, that an office job, like a corporate office job, was not for me at all. And I really needed to do whatever it took to get back into the realm of being self-employed. And so that is what I have done. And in that time of having spent so much of my adult life working for myself, I have learned that if I am not frequently reanalyzing my goals and where I am going, that there's a good possibility that my business can remain fairly stagnant. So today we're going to go over my quarterly review that I am doing for my business and myself. And I highly encourage you, if you have recently started a business or if you have a business and you've never done a review of your performance, regardless of the type of business, it doesn't have to be photography, that you do this type of analysis for yourself. Now, a big thing for me is that I try to do these at a minimum quarterly, but preferably monthly. And the reason for that is for the same reason that when I manage people, I want to give them feedback more than once a year at an annual review. As a business owner, you want to give yourself feedback on how you're doing as a business owner more than once a year. So the more frequently you can build this into your calendar, the better. It really only takes maybe an hour to do. And I'm going to start periodically sharing these with you guys on YouTube. I probably won't share them monthly because I feel like that can get pretty redundant and repetitive. But anytime that I have major goals or major scaling opportunities coming up that are coming through this review, I'll probably choose to share those for you guys. to dive into the structure of how I'm meeting those goals, making those goals, why they're falling into my plan, etc. So now that we know why we're doing a quarterly performance review, let's dive into what is actually on my quarterly performance review. All right, so the first thing that I have on my review is my top 3 goals that I want to work towards and a deadline for achieving those goals, because a goal is pretty open-ended and you aren't working towards it with the same velocity unless you have a deadline. I have one goal that is a more long-term goal. It's actually a monetary goal for the year 2021, but I know that I need to start working towards that goal now in order to make it a reality. And then my other 2 goals are pretty short-term goals for metrics that I want to reach in the month of June. So we're currently halfway through May. I'm planning to do my next review of my business at the end of June. So that's why I have 2 goals expiring at the end of June. So my first big goal is that in the year 2021, I want to generate $100,000 in revenue from client sales and paid work. So that doesn't equate to like me personally making $100,000. That essentially means $100,000 of services were paid into my business, and then obviously like there is a cost that goes along with it. But that is my like entry-level goal for the year 2021 is I want the business to generate $100,000 in revenue. And then my 2 smaller goals for the month of June, one of which kind of plays into that and one of which is just for my own personal sanity, is I want to obtain 10 new clients in the month of June. And then the one that's more for my own sanity is I want to go down to only shooting in the field 4 days a week starting in June. So my hope is that by raising the amount of money I'm making day to day by bringing in new clients, I can shorten the amount of time that I am in the field. So I have 1 day a week to go over like the administrative parts of running my business, because right now I tend to cram that stuff in on nights and weekends, and it would be better for my mental health if that happened on a weekday and better for the business in general if I was doing those tasks while I was feeling fresh. So trying to get down to only shooting in the field 4 days a week starting in June, and then also getting to the point where I have 10 new clients in the month of June. And before you say, hey, wait, why are you shooting in a pandemic? I would like to point out that I work in a photography niche that in my area is deemed essential. I photograph vacant properties. I don't come into contact with people. So that is why I'm still working through the pandemic. So then the next piece is how will I reward myself for reaching these goals? And for the goal of making $100,000 in revenue for the business in 2021, I have decided that I would like to go on a weekend getaway to some place that is warm and some place that I've never been before. So for those of you who've been around for a while, you know that I really, really love to travel. However, since leaving my operations management job, where I was traveling all across the country for part of the year, I have kind of gotten into this routine of going to the same places over and over again. I spend some time in the Midwest, some time out west, a good bit of time in Tennessee, visiting family and getting dental work done, and I would really like to go someplace new that I've never been, and especially have that place be someplace warm. So I did a little bit of this last year, and then I really started to like the places that I was going, so I just kept going back. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as a reward for having a good year, I would like to reward myself with branching out and going someplace new. And then for my 2 short-term goals, for the goal of generating 10 new clients in the month of June, I would like to go for a run in the city of DC. So I live just a little bit outside of DC. I am currently training for a 15K race in January of 2021. So I am running 3 to 4 days a week currently, and I'm really, really enjoying the preparation of preparing for that run, and to give me a little bit of a reward for my mental health, for the fact that I'm going to be grinding to get 10 new clients. I want to, instead of doing my normal like run around my apartment building one day, drive into the city on a Saturday and park and go for a run through the city. So that's something that I've wanted to do for a while, and I think that's a very fitting goal that with the current social distancing guidelines, I know that I can actually be able to do at the end of June. Because even if we are still on a stay-at-home order in my area, we are still allowed to travel short distances to exercise. So that seemed very fitting for me. And then for my goal of cutting down to 4 days a week, that is a reward that I want to share with my husband. So there is a restaurant nearby that we both really like. It's a little more expensive, that we do pretty much for like birthdays, anniversary, like big events. We got to eat there, and we, for our first wedding anniversary, actually got takeout from there and enjoyed that takeout as our first anniversary. Because reducing my schedule to 4 days a week is also going to be a reward for him, because I will have more time to spend with him, since I won't be cramming all of my business administration work into nights and weekends. I would like to celebrate that with my husband. So next, I want to address some habits that I want to start incorporating into my business over the next month. And the first one of those is I want to do a monthly review of my portfolio. So because I shoot at such a high volume, don't always update my portfolio in a timely manner. So I want to start going through my portfolio at the end of the month, and making adjustments to my portfolio according to what I have shot over the last 30 days. So one of the reasons that I have been able to grow my business so successfully over the last few months has been because I have been really good about utilizing educational materials for things that I did not know. Currently, for the rest of the month of May, the Professional Photographers Association has all of their online educational materials free. So I want to work to utilize those as much as possible through the end of the month. And then into June, I own a lifetime subscription to Shaw Academy, and they have some marketing courses as well that I want to start utilizing on a regular basis so that I can continue growing my knowledge of how I'm running my business. And then lastly, to be able to reach my goal of getting 10 new clients in the month of June, I want to start spending 1 hour per week on active lead generation. So sending emails, doing marketing, anything that could lead to the creation of a lead that could become that new client. I want to spend at least an hour a week, every week, working towards that. All right, and then the last portion of the business related part of my review before I go on to more like personal, how I do my job questions, is any milestones that I have reached over the course of having my business so far. So in the last 4 months, I have opened my business, had 160 paid photo shoots, made a purchase that has been instrumental to my business, and that is the purchase of a graphics tablet, which if you don't have one, highly, highly, highly recommend looking into them. And I can do an entire video on how this has improved my life as a photographer in a later video, but I consider this a milestone for me because this was something that my work caused my business to make money, and my business was able to pay for this. This was not like an out of my pocket expense, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm considering this a milestone, because this is the first like physical piece of gear that my business has purchased as a result of my business being successful. I did my first couples shoot. I did my first branded lifestyle shoot for an influencer. I was featured on the social media accounts of 2 local businesses. I worked with a local network of photographers to do a social media project about the pandemic. And the most important one is that I survived the first 2 months of a global pandemic as a brand new small business. All right, so moving on, I am going to address some of the skills that are important as an employee, like if I was to be working for a company, and essentially assess them for myself and my performance over the last few months, as if I was doing a review of an employee. So the first is, how have I grown in my technical abilities over the last 4 months? And this is something that I have to say I am very, very proud of, because in the last 4 months I have built my website, done my social media, learned how to use new software editing programs, learned how to use new editing tools, and I've tried to be on the forefront of trying to figure out how I can make technology work for me to make me more efficient. It's definitely something where there's plenty of room to grow, but for how swamped and overwhelmed I have been for the last 4 months, I'm actually like really kind of impressed at how far I've come with my technical abilities over the last 4 months. The next one is a place where I feel like there is definitely some room for me to improve in the future, and that is with communication with clients and contracts that I have. I definitely try to be as forthcoming with communication as I can and over communicate as much as I can without being overbearing. However, I have yet to automate my communication process, and I know that that's definitely hindering me to an extent. And so I really want to work on that as I move forward, because not having my communication process automated, nothing has slipped through the cracks yet, but that is something that I could foresee being a negative consequence in the future. So definitely something that I need to work on. Another thing that I definitely need to work on is my presentation skills. As a new photographer and new business owner, don't have a ton of experience pitching to clients. And so while I don't feel like there's anything inherently wrong with the way that I'm pitching to clients and the way that I do like consultation phone calls and just any type of presenting to a client in general, I'm not super comfortable and confident in it yet. And I know that that's going to come with time, but I also feel like to an extent, if I just remind myself that this is what I do, this is my full-time job, it is my full-time income, and it's supporting me and my husband, that will go a long way, and me being able to become more comfortable in the fact that presenting is an essential part of my job. And in every career that I've had up until this point, I've had to present to people, and this isn't really that different. So the next skill is project management, and this is a skill that normally I think as a whole like skill in my toolkit, I tend to excel in project management because so much of my previous career path was essentially being a high-level project manager. However, I don't feel like I've translated that as well into my business as I could have. I'm definitely working towards that now. Like within the last couple of weeks, I've started implementing processes and documenting things a lot better, but that's something I definitely could have benefited from doing earlier in my business. So as a result, I'm going to give myself a so-so score on project management. Next, we have self-development, and I would give myself fairly high marks on this one because I definitely spend a good portion of my day trying to ingest content that allows me to further myself and my business. So I'm going to lump the last three of self-development, business development, and strategic development all together for the purpose of this review, because one of the things that I did towards the beginning of my business was when I was in the car driving to and from clients, I tended to be like listening to music, listening to the radio, and as I progressed and gotten less and less time, I've started listening to audiobooks and podcasts that pertain to those three fields. So there are some photography podcasts I listen to, some that are just like generic business podcasts, and then some that are like life advice type podcasts, trying to keep all of that information pretty well rounded. I think it's important to focus on all three of those and not just one. So as far as like the way I'm developing as a person, as a business, and creating strategy moving forward, I feel like I have done exceptionally well on that over the last couple of months. Like I said, not as well at the beginning, but I have definitely been on an upward trajectory on that one. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you are interested in doing a performance review for your business or yourself, I would love to hear any of your insight in the comments down below. I love hearing from other business owners and how they are managing their business, especially during this super trying time that we're all trying to navigate through together. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I make new videos about photography every Sunday. I am going to be taking a break from photography content next Sunday, and I am going to be doing a little bit of a throwback. So if you are one of my subscribers that came around because of my non-traditional adult braces journey, I will be talking about that in a vlog next week, because unfortunately some circumstances have come up and I am in the unfortunate situation of, because of an issue with my teeth, having to get on an airplane in the middle of the pandemic. So I'm going to be doing a video documenting my journey in 4 days of me getting on an airplane and flying across the country during a pandemic and what that is like, as well as a little bit of an update on what's going on with my teeth. So if you are here for the photography content, that will be back in 2 weeks. If you're here for the braces content, that will be back next week. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help YouTube recognize that my content is reaching people who like and enjoy to watch it. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.